Hello, and welcome to this lecture entitled Processing. What do you do when you process? First, processing applies your arrangement scheme. Next, it preserves your collection, and it prepares your collection both for description and access. Remember those preservation problems we discussed earlier? Remember that paper oxidizes. This is a problem in processing. Paper also tears from folding. Photographs deteriorate from age and poor conditions. And again, we're not even talking about electronic records here. So remember, for physical processing, you have to use certain kinds of supplies. Acid-free folders, acid-free interleaving papers, and storage boxes. You should have proper enclosures for photographs. You should use number 2 pencils with separate gum erasers, and you'll need a dust brush. Now let's look at some steps and some tips in processing a collection. First of all, ask yourself, how deep will you process your collection? First degree processing is very basic and the least time consuming. And indeed, this should appear somewhere on your processing and arrangement proposal. What depth will you process at? First degree processing requires minimal refoldering and minimal reboxing. Second degree processing requires more attention. You will refolder and rebox in second degree processing. You will straighten papers so they fit into the folders without harming those papers. But you probably in second degree processing will not open folded letters and other folded materials. Third degree processing is the most significant form of processing. You will refolder and rebox in acid-free folders and boxes. You will straighten individual papers, unfolding them, removing all of the clips and staples and pins, and replacing them with archival quality clips as needed. This processor is taking the collection from temporary storage boxes that you see behind him and filling acid-free boxes and folders. When handling papers, they catch air between them, so be sure to overfill folders just a little bit. Note too that this folder has been expanded by using the scoring at its bottom. You might not have thought about folders being scored so that they could be widened at the bottom like this, but look at the next vertical file folder you encounter and see if it has from 3 to 5 scoring marks across it. Those are for helping you to bend the folder so that the bottom is wider. Another tip is to carefully place filled folders in an appropriate box. The box you see before you is what archivists call a Hollinger box or a document box. There are about 3 of these for every cubic foot or even every linear foot of space in an archives. We call the 1 cubic foot boxes record cartons or record center boxes. This slide shows you what a well-filled box looks like, and this is a second degree processing job. You can tell that because they've kept some of the old folders and only refolded those things that were in very bad folders to begin with. You can see also in the second folder from the back of the box that there are some crumpled page edges. This is a second degree refoldering. You'll see too that this box is a little bit overfilled. Excess air will move out of the box and out of the files over time. Now there are special enclosures for non-standard archival materials. Here you see a box for bound volumes. Archivists don't put these volumes on their edges because doing so stresses the spines. It doesn't matter which side is down, the spine gets strained and deteriorates more quickly than is necessary. Another non-standard thing you'll encounter are unbound and bound maps that require oversized cases as well as special treatment. The map to the left is encased in an oversized folder made of strong, heavy, acid-free paper sold on rolls like butcher paper. The bound maps to the right are called Sanborn maps. They're richly informative fire insurance maps that show buildings and their uses in cities around the country. The Sanborn Company sent regular updates to map owners, and they pasted the cutouts on top of the older maps in many cases. Some ledgers are very large and well covered, so they don't need oversized boxing. But look at how these shelves are set up. They're set very closely together to allow maximum capacity on the shelf unit without any stack of ledger weighing too heavily on the bottom ledger of the stack. 2 to 3 high is excellent. Look too at the shelves. They're marked with red letters and numbers. This is how archivists keep track of what is where. Another specialty folder you should be aware of is what we call a phase box. As you can see, the phase box is a pre-scored set of components that allow you to custom build a box for any book-sized artifact. On the left is a daguerreotype, one of the first successful photographic formats. A daguerreotype was only visible if its glass plate positive was placed over a black backing. To do this, the photographer usually inserted the plate into a pre-made frame that itself requires special boxing. To the right are rare books, protected from handling and supported physically by the phase box. And if you look closely at the book inside the phase box, you'll see that the spine is torn. So rather than repair that, which would be unsightly and it might devalue the book itself, they've used a phase box to physically support and protect that book. You can also see from the closed phase boxes that you use string and button ties to secure the phase boxes. These two are components that you can use to custom build the size of your phase box. Now, another format that you'll receive many of if you work in a manuscript repository, and almost all of the repositories these days are manuscript repositories, is scrapbooks. These often find their way into document boxes or record cartons, and they're treated like other vertical files, violating that concept of you don't put these things on their edge. Scrapbooks are a great source of highly concentrated information when their creators did them well, but they can be very, very personal. And rather than concentrate information, they can concentrate the personality or the full-on crazy of their creators. So this then is the end of the lecture. I hope it gave you some ideas about what you'll encounter while processing and how best to work through the physical preservation of collections. Thank you for your attention.